Welcome. Today's deep dive is brought to you by Skip Benton with Coldwell Bankers Select Real Estate. If you are looking to buy a home in Northern Nevada, then contact Skip. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into something I think a lot of us have been seeing all around us, this whole home renovation craze that seems to be sweeping the nation. It's really interesting to see all this energy going into fixing up houses, but it makes you wonder, are people really thinking about everything that comes with it? The sources we've got today kind of point to a big oversight that might be happening in all this excitement.
Yeah, you've got folks putting tons of money into these upgrades, but they might leaving themselves kind of vulnerable in ways they haven't even thought of.
That's totally what jumped out at me. There was this nationwide study, and it found that a crazy number of homeowners, like over half, have actually done some major renovations just in the past 2 years. I mean, think about it. Have you gotten bitten by that whole renovation bug lately?
Well, it makes sense when you think about what's been happening with the housing market, right? It's been a bit wild. And with the way mortgage rates have been climbing, a lot of people are just like,
Uh,
okay, I'm staying put and I'm going to fix up what I've got. So instead of dealing with all the craziness of buying and selling, they're choosing to renovate. It's almost like we're seeing a shift back to that idea of the forever home.
yeah, totally. Moving can be such a pain and all those costs. And speaking of staying put, the study also had some interesting stuff about empty nesters. You'd think that once the kids are out of the house, downsizing would be the next move. But this study actually found something completely different. Empty nesters are going bigger.
Yeah, they're kind of like bucking the trend, right? The study showed that empty nesters are spending almost twice as much as everyone else on kitchen remodels. And get this, they're shelling out like 3 times the amount on full home renovations.
Wow, so I guess all that extra space is going towards things like that dream chef's kitchen, or maybe a fancy home theater they've always wanted. But all this renovating brings up another big trend, all this DIY stuff. With the crazy cost of contractors, it seems like everyone's trying to become like, Bob the Builder or something. The study found that 3/4 of homeowners are doing at least some of the work themselves. And I bet if you asked around, it's even higher.
And the thing that really surprised me is this. Over a third of these DIYers are taking on things that pros usually handle. We're talking about redoing kitchens, bathrooms, even adding whole new rooms to their houses. It's amazing to see people being so confident and like resourceful.
hmm
But it does make you wonder.
For sure. Well, I think it's awesome that people are going for it. Are they really thinking about all the things that can go wrong? Like, what about unexpected costs? Things popping up that you didn't plan for, even safety hazards? And what happens if something does go wrong and you didn't think about insurance for those upgrades?
That's the thing that a lot of people seem to be missing. They put all this time and work and money into fixing up their homes, but they often forget to update their insurance policies. So they end up being underinsured. And if something happens, it could turn that dream renovation into a financial nightmare.
Yeah, it's like they get so focused on changing how their house looks,
Yeah,
they forget about protecting themselves financially.
exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of creating that perfect space. And all the practical stuff like insurance gets pushed to the side.
Yeah, and while we're talking about those dream spaces,
Hmm.
the study also looked at what kinds of DIY projects people are actually doing. Some of them are kind of what you'd expect, but others were a little surprising.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a whole range of stuff. Basement renovations seem to be pretty popular. 43% of homeowners said they've tried that. Makes sense, right? Basements are often like a blank slate. You can turn them into whatever you want.
Yeah, totally. Like a home gym, a guest room, maybe even a little movie theater.
Right. And then almost as popular are front door replacements. 41% of people said they'd done that. You know, a new front door can really change how a house looks from the street, gives it that fresh, welcoming vibe.
And it's something you can do without having to redo the whole house. And of course, there's always the classic bathroom remodel.
Mm.
39% of homeowners said they've tackled that themselves. I think we've all dreamt of having a bathroom that feels like a spa.
Oh, for sure. But here's where it gets interesting. The study found that 38% of homeowners have even tried doing their own kitchen remodels.
Wow. That's pretty ambitious, especially when you think about all the plumbing and electrical work and the cabinets and all that. Makes me think back to what we were talking about earlier with the risks. Like if a kitchen remodel goes wrong, it could be a huge headache and cost a ton of money.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. Believe it or not, 36% of people said they've done full home remodels, or even those gut renovations you see on TV.
That's some serious DIY dedication. It seems like people are getting more and more confident in what they can do.
Definitely. And it just keeps going. The study found 35% have even built home additions themselves, like extra rooms or even separate garages. It's pretty amazing to see how much people are willing to take on these days.
Yeah, it really shows how much people want to make their homes their own and improve their spaces. But while all this DIY stuff is inspiring, it really highlights how important it is to plan carefully and really understand the risks before you jump into anything.
Absolutely. Even if you have the best intentions, things can still go wrong. You might run into problems you didn't expect, materials could cost more than you thought. And if you don't have the right skills, you could end up with a project that's half finished or even worse, something dangerous.
And that's why talking to your insurance agent before you start is so important. Before you even pick up a hammer or order any materials, you got to know how these renovations might change your coverage.
Right. You want to be sure you're covered just in case something happens. The last thing you want is to put all that time and work and money into your dream renovation and then find out you're not insured if something goes wrong.
Yeah, it's all about peace of mind. You're putting so much into making your home reflect you, so it only makes sense to protect that.
And besides just the coverage itself, insurance agents can be super helpful during your renovation. The nationwide study found that 76% of agents regularly recommend contractors to their clients.
That's a great point. It's like having a built-in network of experts to help you out.
Exactly. They can help you figure out things like permits and building codes, and even give advice on finding good suppliers.
It's interesting how the role of the insurance agent has changed. It's not just about providing coverage anymore. They're becoming more like partners in the whole home improvement process.
Yeah, it shows that we need a more well-rounded way of thinking about renovations. It's not just about changing how your house looks, but also about making sure you're financially protected and have peace of mind.
Speaking of making sure you're covered, the study also found something interesting about how different generations research their DIY projects. It seems like just about everyone goes online for inspiration and how-to stuff these days. But empty nesters are less likely to rely on social media for advice.
Huh, that is interesting. Maybe they prefer the more traditional websites or even those old-school books and magazines. It makes sense that they might be a bit more careful about taking advice from random people on social media. They probably want to go to sources they know are reliable.
No matter where you get your information, though, doing your research before starting any big project is key. Whether you're doing it yourself or hiring pros, you got to understand what could go wrong. And make sure you've got the right insurance.
Totally agree. And it's actually kind of worrying that the nationwide study found over half of homeowners who did major renovations didn't update their insurance afterward.
Wow, that's a lot of people. They could be putting themselves at a lot of risk.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've made any big changes to your home, you really need to call your insurance agent. It's a simple thing to do, but it can give you a lot of peace of mind.
Your home is probably your biggest investment.
Yeah.
So protecting it properly is super important, especially after you've put so much into making it even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's like you're not just protecting the money you put in, but also all the memories you make.
That's a great way to put it. Think about it. If you've spent all this time and energy making your home even better, shouldn't you make sure it's fully insured? It's like the finishing touch on a masterpiece, you know?
Oh, I love that analogy. You wouldn't just leave a priceless painting or sculpture without any protection, would you? Your home deserves that same kind of care.
Exactly. So to sum it all up, the home renovation boom is still going strong, but so is the risk of not having enough insurance. Before you jump into any big project, whether you're doing it yourself or hiring someone, talk to your insurance agent. They can help you avoid problems and make sure that your dream renovation doesn't turn into a financial disaster later on.
It's such a good reminder. Your insurance agent can be a real partner in this whole process.
Yeah.
Giving advice, connecting you with good contractors, and making sure you have the right coverage to protect what you've built.
And one last thing for everyone listening. Think about the last time you made any changes to your home, big or small. Have you checked your insurance since then? It might be time to just make sure you're fully covered.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of home renovations. We hope you learned some things and maybe got a new perspective on how important it is to protect your home. We'll see you next time for another deep dive. We want to thank Skip Benton with Coldwell Banker Select for bringing us today's deep dive.